Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome back to the 20 Piece Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Bondi. We're so excited to have you here joining us for another action packed preview of Week 10 college football. Some dang good games last week, hopefully, some better ones this week, and I can guarantee you many more 20 pieces as college basketball is back, baby!
Let's go.
Woo!
Big time.
Our co-host and the inventor of the 20-piece, Anthony Evans, is joining us. It is great to win, but beating your opponents by 20 or a 20-piece is much greater. We have an action-packed episode ahead and can't wait to dive in. But first, a quick message from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Birmingham Sports, your one-stop shop for everything happening in the Magic City sports scene. This week in Birmingham, UAB is finishing up their exhibition game against the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky on Wednesday, and Bulls hockey is back Thursday and Saturday. Get out to a game and stay up to date with everything Birmingham sports related on Instagram at Birmingham Sports and on X at Birmingham Sports. Get to a game. And like I said, college basketball is back. November 3rd, we're going to be tipping off, and we are expanding our pick 'em to the college basketball scene. There's going to be many more games, much larger spreads, and many more upsets, but we're looking at the top 10 games of the week. While football season is still going on, I'm sure that's going to be expanding as time goes on once football season is done. But make sure that you guys are submitting your picks before the set date. And we're going to be picking just money line straight up who's going to win the game. The spreads don't come out till later in the week, so therefore we're just going to pick straight up top 10 games of the week there. Anthony, as a former collegiate basketball coach, I got to imagine you're pretty excited here. What are your thoughts? What are your expectations for this upcoming season?
Definitely really excited. Got to have a lot of 20 pieces this season for sure. Looking forward to the SEC play. There's going to be some tough competition. 6 SEC teams are in the top 25 right now, and there's probably going to be a lot more coming. Looking at the mock draft for the NBA, the top 5 picks, 2 of them are SEC guys. It's going to be a competitive year for the SEC.
No doubt, no doubt. You obviously got the reigning national championship Florida Gators coming back as a pretty solid team. I believe they're ranked number 3 to start the season. I see behind your shoulder you got your March Madness. I've never heard of November Madness, but November 3rd is going to be brought to you live here on the 20 Piece Podcast.
Let's go.
Auburn, we're moving on from what was a phenomenal era of the Bruce Pearl era.
Mm-hmm.
Couple Final Four runs, many tournament runs, couple SEC titles under the belt. What do you think that's going to look like with Stephen Pearl taking over and Bruce Pearl, looking at it from the sidelines now?
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? Stephen Pearl hadn't been a head coach before, but obviously it's in his blood, and from what I hear, Bruce Pearl's kind of sticking around. I'm not exactly sure what role he's playing, but from what I heard, it's kind of like a Nick Saban type role now, what he is to Alabama. So he could be around, still kind of coaching behind the scenes, giving advice to his son, but who knows what to expect. We saw the preseason game against Oklahoma State. That was a loss in double OT, I think it was 99-97, I think. But they looked pretty decent. Defensively, not so great right now, but that's to be expected just because it's the beginning of the season. But we were putting up numbers.
Yeah, I mean Oklahoma State, they're a pretty solid program, and it looks like they've been growing this year as well. Spending maybe a little bit more time on basketball than they have football, but again, we'll let November Madness take us to where March ends all road in April. November 3rd is when the games are starting. That is on Monday. Couple solid games we got going. The reigning champs, Florida Gator, Todd Golden is going out to Vegas in the T-Mobile Arena, open up with Arizona. Number 3 versus number 13 there. Florida being number 3, Arizona being number 13. What a better place to open up the season than in Vegas. I know Auburn's got to run out there in a couple weeks, but I mean Vegas basketball top 15 matchup really can't draw it up any better there. Auburn and Alabama both open up on Monday. Auburn against Bethune-Cookman men, and Bama is opening up against North Dakota, both at home there. We would imagine that those are pretty solid games that get out. You'll see a beatdown and hopefully a good insight to what the season is going to hold for both teams there. Texas and Duke in Charlotte, North Carolina, a neutral site game there at the Spectrum Center. That's going to be on Tuesday, November 4th. Another blue blood early in the season. First game for both. UNC is hosting Kansas. I say hosting. It's a neutral site there. Friday, November 7th. And then Bama's first true road test is going to be Saturday up in Madison Square Garden against Rick Pitino St. John's Redstone. John Calipari once was Kentucky's head coach, no longer. Now coaching the Arkansas Razorbacks, taking on Tom Izzo's Spartans on Saturday, November 8th. Really don't like these big games matchup in the middle of football season because you can imagine a lot of people are going to be watching football over basketball, but who knows? Um, we'll definitely see the highlights myself. I'll be at a wedding, so not too thrilled about being there in the middle of football season either, but, life is life. Oklahoma taking on Gonzaga late night Bad Boy Mower series on Saturday night. Some pretty solid games on the first week of slates. Any ones that particularly catch your eye or that you're going to sit down and watch more than football?
I'm gonna be watching all of these for sure. First week of basketball season being back. But wanted to draw attention to the Bama schedule. Bama's got St. John's up first, and then they have a tough little stretch. They got Purdue coming up next, and then Illinois, which is ranked. They're ranked 17 right now, and Purdue's first, obviously, and then Gonzaga at 21st. You know, they've got some tough November basketball coming to them.
Love it. But you're seeing more and more of these programs put together a much more complex, difficult schedule than just cakewalk through, get to the postseason, and get embarrassed there. So props to Bama for organizing those games a little bit earlier in the season, and hopefully it plays out in their favor. But excited to see those good games on the slate.
Absolutely.
Moving from the college basketball to the college football scene, another roundabout on the coaching carousel here. Brian Kelly out in Baton Rouge. You think Coach O or Saban is going to make a return to Death Valley to finish up the season there?
I don't know about Coach O. Nick Saban, I heard he was being asked some questions about, what's the price to get you back in the game? And I'm not sure if there is one. Surely there is if they're going to, give him how $200 million. I heard that might have been on the table for a certain amount of years. But he's a legend. He's obviously going to get asked to come to these programs, Penn State, LSU, all these elite, programs. But I don't know. I'd love to see Coach O back in Baton Rouge.
No doubt. I saw some criticism that he was giving Coach Kelly that Coach O was saying Coach Kelly really didn't embrace that LSU lifestyle, that tradition down there, and I would agree. Uh, we'll see where it goes. It's just another revolving spin around for these coaches here, and we'll see once the season's over where everybody lands. James Franklin's still on the table. Billy Napier's still on the table. A few others. Few little call outs I want to get for Brian Kelly. Obviously, following up a tradition of legacy there. You got Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Coach O, past three coaches before Brian Kelly. They all brought a national championship back to Baton Rouge in the first 5 seasons. And I believe Brian Kelly only got one bowl win. Not even a national championship win, just a bowl win in the first 5 seasons. But another call out, Mike Elko, the head coach at A&M, was once Brian Kelly's defense coordinator at Notre Dame. He beat him at Texas A&M this year. Clark Lee, also another former defensive coordinator, beat LSU this year with Vandy. And then Marcus Freeman, he was his last defensive coordinator while Kelly was the coach at Notre Dame. He ended up taking over the Notre Dame head coach role once Brian Kelly was gone. Obviously, took him to the national championship last year. It wasn't quite the way they wanted to work out, but at least they're in that national championship contention there. So Brian Kelly, it seems like he has a magic sauce that has just given the recipe to all of his coaching associates and is not really drinking the sauce himself. So hate to see it happen. Big payout there. I believe it was over $50 million, almost $60 million paid out. So obviously he's probably on the beach right now enjoying a couple cold ones. But LSU next on the chopping block of open seats there.
Yeah,
Speaking of Nick Saban, go ahead.
Connie, what do you think? What do you think about this? So you got Mike Elko, former DC, right, at A&M. You got Clark Lee, former DC for Brian Kelly at Vandy. Both losses this year. What if is Brian Kelly not mixing up his scheme? Like if they're former defensive coordinators, they've been practicing against his offense before, right? So
Yeah.
what is he not mixing up the scheme, or what do you think's going on there?
You look at A&M, that was a night game in LSU. Death Valley at night is one of the most electric environments in all of college football. And A&M just walked in and absolutely ran right through him. What was it, 49-20 something? I mean, it was more than a 20 piece and a half. So you making that point, I have no doubt that there's probably some changes that he needed to do that he didn't. Vandy, that was a close one, 17-10. You make a very solid point there. He probably does need to change up a little bit more, and if he does face future previous coaches in the years to come, I hope he does learn from this and hopefully change his schemes a little bit there.
Yeah.
Nick Saban, coming off of game day, was saying that the NIL is determining college athletics. How much a roster is willing to spend or a program is willing to spend is how it's going to determine the best job, whether it's college football, college basketball. You look at softball with Texas Tech dumping $1 million on a pitcher, and they make it to the World Series there. And NIL, obviously, this is a different era of collegiate sports, but what is that best dream job for anybody that's in that coaching carousel there?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know. I mean, like you said, they obviously got to have the money. That's just the way it is nowadays, which is sad because I think that is going to be the NIL is going to be the downfall of the UABs and the Sanfords, of the world, just because they can't put up the dough, which is sad because you obviously don't want to see schools like that just disappear. And I think we're kind of headed into the minor league of the NFL, if you will. Um,
Sure.
so we'll call it triple A, double A, but college football is no longer amateur. It's professional, and it's sad to see it. But as far as the jobs are concerned, it's wherever the money is, man.
Now, you asking about the smaller colleges? I'm thinking of UAB, and you got country music star Sam Hunt. You got Jacksonville State with country music star Riley Green. You got Miami of Ohio with Ben Roethlisberger. The list goes on of these small school that produce these 1 star, the 5 star, standouts that make a Hall of Fame career. Do you think these smaller schools need to reach out more to their, I'm going to call them luxury donors or more famous donors and ask for some more of that money?
Yeah, I think they should. If they have those kind of people, they definitely should. Auburn's got Tim Cook. I don't know how much money he's been given, but he's got all the money in the world. Um,
Yeah,
you definitely need to be reaching out to those alumni who can provide that type of money. But if they don't have a care for the game, and I think that I've seen some country music stars that, who'd you say went to Jack State?
Riley Green,
Yeah,
quarterback.
Riley Green. Yeah, exactly. So he's definitely got a love for that program, I'm sure. I just don't know. Money is money, and you
Yeah.
can't really tell people what to do with theirs. So we'll see.
Doesn't grow on trees either. You got to earn it. You
Exactly.
definitely got to earn it there. Speaking of earning, not necessarily on the hot seat, but Steve Sarkisian out there in Texas seems to be doing a great job. They've built a team off some money, maybe not typically the result that the money is hoping to have right now, being a 2-loss team. Uh, Word is he might be looking at switching over to the NFL in Tennessee and Nashville, taking over the Titans job. There's coaching carousel obviously already going on in the NFL. Do you think Steve Sarkisian could potentially make that jump over to the NFL? And if so, how do you think it's going to pan out?
Yeah, and I think that he definitely could. And this is the other side of the NIL, right? Like Sarkeesian's throwing all kinds of money at players, and they're not producing. Arch Manning's probably the highest paid um, college football player, right now and definitely ever. And he's not getting it done. In the NFL, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So why not?
Sure. I mean, look, talking of NIL and why not NFL with the NIL and NFL. Man, I don't know which one I'm saying, but you look at the previous quarterback before Manning, Sam Ellinger. He had a chance to come back to college, get a $3 million NIL deal. He passed that up, went on to the NFL draft. Didn't work out as much as he should. I think he's on a roster, but I want to say he's making the league minimum, right around 100 to $500,000 when realistically, you're giving up at least 2.5 million right there.
Right.
I mean, I definitely see why the NIL is turning into the minor league of the NFL. We'll see how it goes, how it pans out there.
Yeah, and to your point, some of them are making more money in the minor leagues than they'll ever make in the NFL. You know.
Yeah. You look. I mean, Angel Reese in college basketball for the women's side, she was making more money in the NIL, and that's why she waited a year to go to the WNBA. There, I'm sure Caitlin Clark, same deal there. So there's definitely some benefits of the NIL. Obviously, some regulations and rules and guidelines that need to be implemented, but again, only time will tell. We need Coach Saban to get in that NIL director role for everybody involved there.
Yeah, and you think of Diego Pavia too. Like, no wonder he's trying to get whatever year it is. It's like 10th year in college football because he's not going to be an NFL quarterback. Get that money while you can, man. I don't blame him.
No doubt, it's generational money that's coming to them. Whether they know that or not, it's what they're getting. It will last them a lifetime if they do the right things with it. So, enough to be said there, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new segment brought to you guys by you, the people. We had posted on our social media a wonderful, wonderful prompt. I'll let Anthony take this, and we'll see how it rolls out the first week.
Yes, yeah. All right. So we asked the people, what is a hot take that you have in the college football world? And we pulled some of the best responses for Bondi to react to live. So what we're going to do here is we're going to read the statement, and Bondi is going to decide whether your take is hot or not. Some of them have follow-up questions, so just to make sure we kind of understood what they meant by what they said. So you may hear some of their reasoning on some of these, Bondi. All right, you ready?
Sure.
All right.
Hopefully, I know the guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Prepare to be roasted if you do.
All
All
right.
right. Carter Miller says Auburn is a bottom 5 program in the SEC. All right. So I already know what you're thinking with this one, Bonnie. So I followed up with him and I asked, like, so are they last? And if not, who's worse? And Carter responded, Vandy, Mississippi State, and South Carolina are worse. Hot or cold take, Bondi?
Cold. Way. I mean, that is. There's a reason I'm in a hockey jersey. That has got to be the coldest take of the year. Obviously, that's the first one of the year. Vandy, you literally had them host game day last week. They were 10 last week. I'm sure they went up this week. Mississippi State, are they top of the barrel? No. They're beating us. If we play them, they beat us. South Carolina, I think we go head and head there. I'm looking at Kentucky. I'm looking at, Florida. Florida's in that boat with us. Like, you throw Auburn and Florida on the same field, it's a toss up there. Auburn and Mississippi State, toss up there. We're at the bottom, yes, bottom 5 for sure. But saying that Vandy is worse than Auburn, I don't know what he's smoking, but cold take.
Cold
Cold
take.
take there, Carter.
All right. Carter Miller gets the first cold take of the season. All right. Next one. Shane Tucker says Oregon is the number 1 fraud of college football. Shane said that the Penn State win isn't enough for him to prove that Oregon is a championship caliber team, and they lost to Indiana. So what do you got, Bondi? Hot or cold take there?
That's tough. I'm not going to say it's a hot take. I'm not going to say it's a cold take. We are now week 10 in, hopefully 9 games under the belt there for the Ducks. Obviously, Indiana is a pretty strong powerhouse there. I'm not saying that Oregon is a fraud, but I think if they were to get into the playoffs, which is looking like they will be, it's going to be some pretty strong caliber games having to be played from the Oregon Ducks to make it to that championship run there. Definitely a playoff team. Don't think they're necessarily a fraud, so I'm going to go with a cold take there.
Cold take. All right. Next one, we got 2 similar takes here. Lawson Rathbone says Ohio State is not the best team, and Oren09 says Alabama would beat Ohio State right now. What do you got? Hot or cold?
All right, we're going to address the first one. Ohio State is not the best team. I would agree with that. I think, to be honest, I think there's 5 best teams. And the reason I say that is, again, there's nobody that stands out that says, hey, we have the best strength of schedule, because some of the best strength of schedules aren't until later in the season. And then there's some people that have played the good games and they have a cakewalk left, but they've already got a pretty solid slate of I'm blanking here, of a resume. So Ohio State is not the best team. I'm going to say that's a cold take. We know that. Alabama would beat Ohio State right now. I'm going to say that's a hot take. That is a very hot take. I think Alabama looks very solid right now, but Ohio State has definitely been dominant. It's also going to come down to, is it a neutral site? Is it at Bama? Is it at Ohio State? What time of year is it? Who's healthy? There's so many just what ifs that you can't say that unless they get to the field and play one on one there. So, hot take for Ohio State is going to lose to Alabama. Uh, Cold take for Ohio State is the best team right now.
Yeah, I think you brought up strength of schedule. I think that was Shane's argument with Oregon, that Oregon hadn't really played anybody, and they didn't play anybody last year, and then they come into the playoff and play Ohio State and get beat pretty bad. What is it about the Big Ten schedule you think that is like? I mean, is the Big Ten inferior? To the SEC, or like what's going on with that? These top five teams, Oregon and Ohio State, they're not playing anybody all year, but they stay ranked high, and then they might get beat in the playoff.
I, I honestly think they are living off the Big Ten is living off the high that the past couple of years national championships have come from the Big Ten. The SEC, when we were on that national championship run, whether it's LSU, whether it's Bama, whether Auburn snuck one in there, whether whoever it be, Georgia, we're all playing one another so that we know that, hey, the best are playing the best. Obviously, that conference is stacked. But the Big Ten now having Michigan, Ohio State, uh, who was the year before Ohio or Michigan? Is that Ohio State again?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
So 2 years, maybe 3 years have been the past Big Ten national championships there. I think they're living off a high there. They need to do a better job of reaching out cross conferences. And as we go from a Power Five to a Power Four schedule, I think that's inevitably have to be done to get that strength of schedule up. Obviously, you have the SEC just beating down one another. We understand who rises from the SEC just based off conference play there. I don't think the Big Ten's quite to that caliber yet. So you're going to have those standouts of just dominance from Michigan, maybe not this year, Ohio State, Indiana, and so forth. So Big Ten has to do a better job scheduling interconference games there.
Yeah, I think I heard that they might be going to kind of like an SEC format. Like you got to have the three rivalry games each year. So we'll see if they do that. All right, Ben Salter says USF is the only group of five team right now, but they will not end up as the CFP group of five auto bid. And this take was, before USF, they just lost to Memphis, right? Um,
Yep.
but he says that the front runner that he has right now is Tulane, followed by Navy, North Texas, and maybe James Madison. What do you got? Hot or cold take?
Oof. I'm going to say cold take. I mean, I think it's some very solid points. Like USF is a great program, but again, they just lost to Memphis. I think they may have I think they got one more loss in their schedule to finish the season there. Tulane, a Green Wave. I think they're a pretty solid program. Don't know much about them. Navy and North Texas. North Texas, I think needs to jump all four of them there. They are just hot right now. They're firing all pistons. Their quarterback is just an absolute stud. The Denton hometown of North Texas is making it fun to watch there. James Madison, Kirk Cignetti left a great legacy there, but what are they following up with? I think they had a pretty solid week this past week. I think it was like 52-20 something. But again, that's why I'm not on the playoff committee and we let somebody else deal with it. I think James Madison, North Texas, Tulane and Navy, not too high on them. USF, I was high on them at the beginning of the year. They've kind of mellowed me out though.
Gotcha. All
So
right,
cold take, Ben. Sorry.
cold take, Salter. Hey, he's at the top of the leaderboard, so he does know ball.
He
All
does know.
right, Haley Sue says the season is too long. Hot or cold take?
Hot. That's got to be scorching. I'm about ready to shed this tarp off. Uh, People are itching for more football. You have the NFL that is looking to expand this season, get rid of one preseason game to extend the regular season game. People like football. Granted, you're only looking at if you like one team, one game a week. Where basketball, it's the same amount of time. You're just putting more games on it. Look at baseball, 162 games in a season. Football will never get there, but I mean, it could be much, much longer. Very hot take, Haley Sue.
All right. Last one here. Chan Ellis says, you're allowed to change your mind when calling a timeout. Bonnie, what do you think?
Chan, known this guy since I was in diapers. Big dog fan. This is a timeout. This is a clap. Timeout, clap. No changing your mind. Was that the end all say all of why Auburn lost to Georgia? Absolutely not. We got a good graphic to show you guys of why this is not the only reason that we lost. We lost for a handful of reasons, and hopefully Hugh Freeze is making some adjustments there to continue to have a fighting chance to get a dub out there. Chan Ellis, love you, brother, but that's probably the hottest take of them all.
All right, we're going to end on the hot one then. Y'all be sure to follow us on Instagram for more of these Ask Bondy questions. We're going to be doing them the rest of the season, so stay tuned with that.
Some good ones, guys. I love it. Keep it coming, and who knows? Maybe one day we'll get you guys live on camera with us and go head to head with it. So keep them coming. We're going to move on to our next segment. Wrapping up week 9, going to go through these results and dive into what we got coming up for the week 10 slate. Going back through college football week 9, UCLA took on Indiana, and it was a 20-piece and a half. Indiana was favored by 24 and a half. They covered, and then some. 20-piece on 20-piece. We're going to call that a 50-piece, beating the Bruins of UCLA by 50 there. Good job, Indiana. Keep it rolling. Ole Miss goes into Oklahoma. Predicted this one wrong. Ole Miss is an underdog, and they won outright in dominant fashion. Oklahoma, definitely not the team that I thought they were going to be, but we'll see how their season wraps up the remainder of the year. The good battle of Kansas State versus Kansas. Kansas State walked into Wichita and absolutely just ran through them. I don't think they're in Wichita, but we're going to run with it anyway. Kansas State is a 2.5-point underdog and absolutely took them away. Alabama, South Carolina. This was a close one up until the last minute. South Carolina was underdog by 13.5 points, and they were able to keep it within 7. Had a good chance to win it outright, but just Bama doing what Bama does and winning at the end of the whistle there. So, College Game Day moved out of Music City with an absolute phenomenal matchup. Vanderbilt took down Missouri, 3.5-point favorite there for Vandy, beat them by 7. They won and cover. Vandy did. Cincinnati, they were able to put up a 20-piece from 21-point beatdown, 41-20 over Baylor. Cincinnati opened up as a 5.5-point favorite and was able to put 21 points of margin up there on them. Texas versus Mississippi State. This was another overtime thriller by the Longhorns that I know they wish they did not have to go through. Mississippi State, I think, is a very underrated program. They took the L here, but Texas was able to cover last minute with a 7-point win as a 6.5-point favorite there. The game that got Brian Kelly sent out of Baton Rouge, 49-25. A&M was a 2.5-point favorite, and they were able to put up a 24-piece there. So no more Baton Rouge for Brian Kelly. Next coach in line is, who knows, could be you, but 24-point piece from the Aggies of A&M. Tennessee taking down the Wildcats of Kentucky. Absolute thriller there. Kentucky came out a lot better than I think people had to be. With a 22-piece there, 56-34. Tennessee taking down the Wildcats in Lexington. Do want to give a shout out to Kentucky's quarterback. He was able to put up some numbers as a true freshman. I think they got something brewing there in Lexington. Hopefully some good bourbon as well, but definitely a quarterback brew for sure. Battle of Michigan State. Michigan took down the Spartans in East Lansing 31-20. Michigan State was a 14.5-point underdog. They were able to hold on to that cover. Good teams win, great teams cover. Michigan's a good team here. They only won by 11 there. No 20-piece, no cover, a 14.5-piece there. 20-piece of the week, spoke on it earlier. UCLA going down by a 50-piece by Indiana. You have the Mendoza brothers, and they might want to look at opening up plumbing to compete with the Super Mario brothers, because not only was quarterback A, Mendoza, able to just go in and drop some dimes, but quarterback B, younger brother, came in and just cleaned up shop right after. 50-piece by the Indiana Hoosiers, taking down the UCLA Bruins. 50 margin against the UCLA Bruins. Solid. And we're going into week 10, brother. Some very exciting games up here on the slate. Some games that we're looking at that, in once history used to be a pretty solid matchup. And now, as modern time has brought us, it seems to be a little bit more of a beat down on one side other than the other. We're going to start it off Penn State at Ohio State. That's the big noon kickoff game, 12 o'clock noon on Fox. Ohio State, without James Franklin, you'd expect this to go head to head and really be a coin flip. But Ohio State is a 20.5 point favorite here. And what do you say?
I got Ohio State in this one covering. Penn State, they've since firing James Franklin, they played Iowa and lost by one, and Iowa's not a good football team. So I'll take Ohio State with the points here. I don't know, how much they'll win by, but I think 3 touchdowns is safe to say it's going to happen.
No doubt. No doubt. Ryan Day, I think he's going to absolutely embarrass the Penn State program myself. Maybe worse than Coach Sandusky did back in the years. It's going to give Penn State some pretty good confidence that, firing James Franklin was the right move. Ohio State, definitely a 20-piece, maybe a 40-piece. They might double that 20-piece there. Give me Ohio State 20.5, no doubt about it. Moving down to the American Conference, UAB taking on UConn on the road. UConn's favored by 12.5 points. That is also a noon kickoff on the CBS Sports Network. UConn's got a phenomenal quarterback, Joe Fagano. He's hosting the Blazers as a 12.5 point favorite. He has over 2,200 passing yards, 18 touchdowns. Here's the kicker: no interceptions. The dude knows how to throw the ball, when to throw it, and not give it to the other team, not turn it over, keep his offense on the field, his defense off the field. They're going to be well rested. I think UAB is going to come out blazing, no pun intended, with the motivation from that Memphis win last week. But at the end of the day, UConn's going to win. UAB's covering, UConn's winning. And what you say?
Great take. I'm not going to pick against the Blazers, man. Got to go with the city.
Okay. Run with it. Run with it. Keeping it SEC here, Vanderbilt at Texas. Texas is a 1.5 point favorite on the 12 noon SEC on ABC game. And what do you say about this one?
Give me Diego Pavia away. Texas is, I'm just not a fan. And a 1.5 point favorite. I know they're at home, but give me Vandy.
Money. Great pick. Great pick. College game day, it wasn't in the Music City by coincidence. The Commodore fans are forced to be reckoned with. Texas has proven not to be the powerhouse that the money has bought them, and Vandy is definitely up for the road test. Anchor down and hammer down on the Commodores there. 1.5 point underdog, they're going to cover, and they're also going to win. So hammer down. Louisville to Virginia Tech. Louisville on the road into Blacksburg. 10.5 point favorite against the Hokies. What do you say here, Ant?
I like the Cardinals here. Virginia Tech has just not looked good all season. I mean, that early in the season, like week 1 or week 2, they lose to South Carolina, and we all see how that's gone for the Gamecocks. So, yeah, give me Louisville.
No doubt. No doubt. You say that. I'm not necessarily buying into the Louisville hype. I think those are some pretty solid points starting off the season for Virginia Tech losing to South Carolina. What is South Carolina worth now? This game is 3 o'clock on the CW network. At first, I thought that said Cartoon Network because this is an absolute joke of a matchup here. Louisville's best win is against Miami, which, again, you look at Virginia Tech against South Carolina, you could probably say the same about Louisville again and Miami. So, I mean, it's the ACC battle of the barrel. Who's at the bottom here? You got Louisville not even going to match up with Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I don't think they're going to be that good, but somehow they're going to make it in the ACC championship. They're going to play Kentucky at the end of the year, probably lose that one. I'm taking Virginia Tech, maybe not to win, but they're definitely going to cover that 10.5 point underdog there. So give me the Hokies.
Do you not think that the Miami win's a good win?
I mean, it was 24-21 on the road. Like, yes, you're playing at Miami, but Miami's 3-3 now or something just unheard of. Maybe not 3-3. We're on week 10. That'd be 6 games. Miami's not the Miami that we thought they were. They were the number 2 team in the nation, and that's when Louisville went in and beat them. So I just don't think Miami's making the playoffs.
Wow. You talk about hot takes. I mean, they're number 10 right now, right?
Sure. That's fine with me. You can be number 10, but you got to get to the end of the season. They got to play the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. That Rambling Wreck's going to wreck them and then some.
You're high on those jackets, man.
Dude, Atlanta's finest. They're coming out. Best team of Georgia. Call
Mm,
me wrong. Call me crazy.
we'll see.
It is what it is. Hey, believe in Blue Land, baby. Believe in Gold Land. Them Yellow Jackets. They're real. They're real. Speaking of Georgia, we got the largest outdoor cocktail party. What a fun weekend for everybody. Going to be down there on Frat Beach. I'm sure they're down there already. Hopefully, Hurricane Melissa was not making a detour to Jacksonville because that was going to be the only way that the Dogs got stopped. Florida has no head coach, an overpaid quarterback, and looking for more hope than just their basketball program. If Todd Golden's, thinking about making a coaching change, maybe just think about walking over to Ben Hill Griffin Stadium and putting on a headset there. Georgia is a 7.5 point favorite against the Gators at a neutral site in Jacksonville, Everbank Stadium, 3:30 SEC on ABC game. It's going to be more than 7.5 points, Anthony. It's going to be an absolute beatdown from the Dogs. Florida is going to be probably leaving the stadium by the end of the first quarter. Give me Georgia covering here, Anthony. What do you say?
I agree. I don't know how much of a beatdown it'll be. Just it's hard to pick a beatdown in rivalry games. Because Michigan State covered last week against
Yep.
Michigan. So Florida hasn't shown their best, but I'm still taking Georgia. I think it'll be probably a 2 touchdown, maybe 10 point win for the Dogs.
Nice, nice. Keeping it on the plains in the SEC, Kentucky at Auburn, 10.5 point favorite there. That's going to be a 7:30 kickoff on the SEC network. Battle of the bottom of the barrel here. Kentucky is known for some barrels of bourbon. Auburn is going to have to get a few of those barrels to drown out the sorrow of this performance this week. Cam Coleman, I think, is getting word that he's potentially hurt, may not make the game. Hope that's a false report, but just from what I've been reading, it's there.
What does it matter?
Kentucky does have
We'll throw it to him anyway.
they will, and he'll somehow find a way to come down with it. So I'm not too concerned about it. Like I mentioned earlier, Kentucky's got a pretty solid quarterback. That's a true freshman. Auburn has a true freshman. We'll see if he gets utilized this weekend. But Auburn's been looking for a quarterback for quite some years. Auburn's going to win, but Kentucky's going to cover 10.5 points. That's just somebody smoking crack on the in the Vegas room because that is just way too many points for the Tigers there. Give me Auburn win, Kentucky cover. And what do you say?
This is a tough one. At first, when I looked at this line, I was thinking 10.5. Golly, is Kentucky that bad? Because obviously we both got some quarterback troubles. Ashton Daniels didn't look awful in Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas ended up handing us the game. But Kentucky put up 34 against Tennessee. I don't think they're going to be able to do that against the Auburn defense. But will Auburn score? I'm just going to go with my gut here and not pick against Auburn. So I'll take Auburn minus 10.5.
Okay, okay. Talking about running up the score on Auburn. Auburn's defense have one of 4 programs in the entire nation to not allow more than 24 points in the same ballpark. Hear me out: Miami, Indiana, Ohio State, Auburn. 4 dominant powerhouses right now, and then you have Auburn. So 3 dominant powerhouses, and then Auburn. So it's going to be a low scoring game. Hope Auburn can pull it out. Only time will tell. 7:30 SEC Network. We'll be watching it live. USC, University of Southern California, 6.5 point favorite against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 7:30 on NBC. This is an absolute toss-up. The hype for USC of running off a program tradition, and for Nebraska, they have a wannabe Patrick Mahomes quarterback. Both teams are able to handle Michigan State at home, but Nebraska lost a close one to a good Michigan team with a pretty solid quarterback there. USC was able to handle them also at home. I'm going to take USC winning, but not necessarily covering. Memorial Stadium in Nebraska is going to be rocking. It's going to be a little bit colder this time of year. It's also going to be a night game. So give me Nebraska covering, but USC winning. And what you say?
That's a good take. I'm gonna go with the Trojans here, just because I don't know too much about Nebraska outside of their Patrick Mahomes wannabe quarterback. So I'm gonna take the Trojans 6.5.
Love it. Love it. Uh, Back to the SEC. We got Oklahoma visiting Tennessee in Neyland. A 7:30 night game, ABC game. 2.5 point favorite for the Vols. I was high on that Oklahoma hype train. Like I said at the beginning of the season, they lost a pretty embarrassing rivalry game to the Texas Longhorns. John Mateer got hurt, came back for that Texas game. He's not the same though. Joey Aguilar, he's a different guy than he was at UCLA. He's found his rhythm, found his offense, and not sure if you saw it, but the Vols did put out some pretty mean social media releasing that they're going to be rocking the Smoky Grays in Neyland at nighttime. So
Ooh,
I think it's going to give them that much more momentum. It's a night game. You got the alternate jerseys rocking, and you're only a 2.5 point favorite for a team that's kind of a little shaky there. So hammer down on the Vols by 2.5, and they honestly may put up a 20 piece here against this Oklahoma team. And what do you say?
yeah, I think they'll definitely cover. I don't know about a 20 piece, but Oklahoma with the loss to Ole Miss last week, pick that one right. Ole Miss's offense just too good for Oklahoma. Like you said, Mateer's not 100% back yet, so I'm going to go with the Vols here. I didn't know about the jerseys. That definitely tells me to hammer down there.
If you get a chance, go check it out because they did a phenomenal job of releasing it with just a light show. It's also Halloween on Friday, so they're mixing a little bit of spooky theme in it as well.
Nice.
Uh, Job well done, Tennessee equipment department. Job well done. Georgia Tech, the boys of Atlanta, baby. Georgia Tech is a 6.5 point favorite going into Raleigh, taking on the NC State Wolfpack. That is a 7:30 ESPN2 game. NC State does have home field advantage, but that's literally the only advantage they have. Last 5 games, the only team that they've won against, the Campbells. Make that make sense. Everyone else they've lost to everybody else, and they've somehow stayed at the bottom of a talentless ACC conference. Georgia Tech is a 6.5 point favorite, is an absolute slap in the face. Hayes King, Brent Key, they're going to be pissed off. They know people in Vegas. They're going to go in and absolutely hammer down 20 piece on 20 piece. Give me the Yellow Jackets. The Ramble and Wreck from Georgia Tech, they're going to be wrecking. They are going to be wrecking. Ant, what do you say?
I mean, enough said right there. I think you nailed it. Georgia Tech minus 6.5 here. Nothing more to say there.
Love it. Cincinnati going into Utah, 7.5 point favorite. This is college game day. And I make a big emphasis on this because college game day is starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time, which I believe is going to be 7 a.m. Mountain time, maybe 6 a.m. But their game is not. So we'll just run off Eastern time here. 9 a.m. Eastern time start, and then 13 hours at 10:15 on ESPN is when they're going to be kicking off. I hope Utah knows how to tailgate. It is going to be a full-on marathon of a day for the people that are getting to college game day. The stadium may end up half empty if they don't know how to tailgate. Again, pace yourself. Utah, I know we got some fans out there. Pace yourself. It's going to be okay. You're still going to have some fun. But want to give a special shout out here. Ryan Davis, former Blessed Trinity Titan, good buddy of mine, Connor Davis's brother. He's been getting the ball from Devon Damper all season long, has been finding the end zone, and I'm going to expect that to continue to happen this week. Cincinnati, they are a solid team, but 7.5 points for Utah is no challenge they cannot meet. Give me the Utah Utes taking down the Bearcats of Cincinnati with a phenomenal day of football in Utah there. Ant, what do you say?
Yeah, good take. I'm going to say Utah minus 7.5 as well. Cincinnati put up some numbers against Baylor, but Baylor's defense isn't really all there. They were able to stop Sawyer Robertson a good bit, only holding them to 20 or 21. So, but I think Utah is too good right now. So I'll take them 7.5.
Hammer down on the Utes. That wraps up for our Week 10 picks. We do want to dive into our 20 piece of the week. Ant, we had a phenomenal 20 piece last week with a 50 piece from the Indiana Hoosiers. Who you got this week beating down 20 piece or more?
Yeah, give me Notre Dame over Boston College. I know Notre Dame hadn't shown, they've been kind of iffy off and on this year. The line's 28.5 here. I think the Fighting Irish are just going to take them down.
Boston College is a 1-7 team. 1-7 team. I think that's a very solid take there. Good chance for the Fighting Irish to put up a good fight and put down 28.5 and then some. So good take there. I got Indiana going back-to-back weeks on the 50 piece. 50 piece of the week. Forget the 20 piece. We're going 50 piece. Indiana over Maryland. Like I said earlier, Super Mario Bros. I hope none of you guys are dressing up for them for Halloween because you need to be dressing up as the Mendoza brothers. They are the real deal. They're a force to be reckoned with. You got Mendoza Senior doing what he does, going to put a phenomenal legacy on, and then freshman Mendoza is going to come in and take over after and continue this legacy of Kurt Signetti over there at Indiana. Give me the Hoosiers over Maryland by a 20 piece, 40 piece, probably a 50 piece here. Hammer down.
That's a good take. You know, last week wasn't Indiana's first week to be 20 piece of the week. They've done it a couple times this season.
It's a common trend. It is a common trend for sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up for our Week 10 college football 20-piece podcast here this go. Make sure that you continue to stay up to date with all of our social media at 20-piece podcast on Instagram. Make sure you're getting those picks in. And remember, basketball season is starting. We're getting those picks in as well. Anthony, what do you have? Last take here.
War Eagle. War Eagle. That's all I got.
War Eagle, guys. Y'all have a good weekend. And you guys are all 20 pieces in my heart. Have a good one.